Yeah, so now after we talked about TDE's roster and Dreamville's roster, now it's time to really get into the nitty gritty, man, and really talk about the two main artists. And, that's going to be J. Cole and that's going to be Kendrick. And so like we said before, like we said in the other parts, their rises have been a huge part of the rise of the labels, in itself. So as they have risen, and as their careers have grown, so have the labels. So we can really start with either one, but
if we gonna start, I'm gonna start off right. We gonna start off with Mr. Jermaine Lamar Cole. Man, for one, this is both of our favorite artists, rapper. J. Cole, bro, like what he's brought to the game and the aesthetic of hip hop, and even I feel like even this latest article, which he just dropped, kind of cemented everything how I felt as a fan of his. Following him since I was just a young nigga in middle school to like being where I'm at now, at my age and shit like that. It's like, bro, that shit, to see your favorite artist evolve to hit some of the pinnacles that he spoke about in his early music. And yeah, he had that fall off, for a minute and shit like that. But it's like at that same time, his fall off, J. Cole was still so relevant. Like even when the motherfuckers want to throw hate to him and be like, J. Cole was born and J. Cole, at the end of the day, you have to tap into his music to understand like that ain't your style. So either way it go, you still catching whatever the fuck he's saying and know like that nigga is he can bar niggas up. You know what I'm saying? I love to see the style of him grow. Like now to see him just play on tracks and really do what the fuck he want to do, as opposed to when he first came into the game, it was like, I'm aiming for this with this track, or I'm aiming for that. Now it's just like, nigga, I'm making music, and that shit gonna be great. What I'm giving you is like I feel like would be my best and stuff like that, as well as transitioning from a producer, jumping into film and the ideas of whatever drops that we doing, there got to be some documentary that follow up with that as well. Like that brings you in more. It kind of makes you feel like you have a personal bond with the label and as well with the artist as well and shit like that. Like I love that whole aesthetic. Yeah, man. Like Cole is that nigga for me. And that's just simply best how I'm put it. I'm very geeked to see what this next project from him is gonna be, man. But like, how, as far as a favorite artist of yours, like what drew you into the aesthetic of Cole? Other than like, I know we talked about like just the fact that he's so relatable, but what made you stay a fan of Cole and stay on the ship for all these years?
one thing, I started with, the first time I heard Cole was in 2010, and
Mm-hmm.
it was around the time I had just discovered that Piff. So of course I'm adding everything that I see on that, especially if it's a free download. I'm just using up all my shit, just downloading whatever the fuck. And so I must have, like, cause I didn't even realize I did it, but I must have downloaded that. Really don't remember how.
Wow,
Word, like I'm just adding shit. So I'm letting it ride I'm on the school bus one day. I remember this shit so vivid. I'm letting it ride and had to be Blow Up. It was Blow Up. I heard Blow Up and I'm listening, but like around that time I had just really started like getting into rap, and I had always been into poetry though. So I had always paid attention to like words, like just how people putting together wordplay, stuff like that. But man, like he was just spitting, he's just talking, and I'm like, and I'm in high school at the time. Like, of course, I'm a freshman in high school, so it's just like, damn, like this nigga kind of rapping about my life. I feel like,
raw, bro. Like
it's crazy. How does he know? But you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so that starts, the fandom, for me, and then from there, I'm listening to Friday Night Lights, so I become a fan of that. I start, going back and seeing what else is on YouTube. At that point, I'm on like Hot New Hip Hop, like Current Hip Hop, all them little websites that would have new songs every day and shit where you could download it from. Like I'm on that, just looking for anything, Cole related, just to keep up with it. And so then, we get, Cold World Sideline Story, and then, at that. And then from there, like, honestly, like, even as he goes through and starts releasing his albums, even when we see that, I guess fall off for lack of any better term that other people would use. But like, even when he does reach that period where, he's not releasing music as much, or he's not as, in the public and in the open as he is, I'm still just like, nah, I'm like, at that point I was, I felt connected with him at like, in the sense of like, I've always been able to relate to his music. So even if, he's not releasing at the moment, or even if he's in a moment where like he's taking his career in a different direction,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. Like for me, it's just like I kind of understood earlier, tried to at least that like, hey, like artists gonna try shit. Like artists got to experiment. Artists got to figure out what lane they want to get into. But I will second your sentiment in the sense of when I first saw that Homecoming documentary, like I had never seen any shit like that. Like the Homecoming documentary is legit the reason like why I was completely okay with changing my major from journalism to digital storytelling. Like because seeing that made me like, if I can fuse the passions of like music and being able to tell that story from behind the lens, like that shit is amazing to me. And I just feel like there weren't many people doing it. Like you would see documentaries done like, like film style, but you didn't get that like I'm following you, like I'm
Like you. I felt like I was with that nigga every step of the way of
right.
that album, like just to see. And
It wasn't scripted. It wasn't nothing to tell him to say. Everything is organic. Like everything is natural. Everything is happening in the moment. And yeah, I'm sure shit they edit this, that, and the third. But like all of the shit that we do see is shit that's natural. And then another thing I loved about it, I think another reason I ended up staying with Cole being a diehard fan is in that Homecoming series, you see him consistently speak about the people around him. And you see him consistently speak about why they are essentially the reason that he's able to have the success, that he has. And I don't feel like you're seeing a lot of artists showcase that or do that. Do they have to? No. But the simple fact that he did, and if you know Cole, like he mentions all these things in his music. So it just helps you relate, all those things and bring all those things full circle. Just like the article, all those things come full circle. And it just makes you have a greater appreciation for the music, for the moment when it dropped, understanding where he was when it dropped and what it meant. So now it means a little bit more to you as a fan, and it may mean a little bit more if it resonated with you for any specific reason. So yeah, that's kind of where the connection with me as a fan came with Cole, and why, for 10 years now, he's always been, one of my two favorite rappers.
Yeah. What I wouldn't even want to say, there is no expectation or anything, and like you said, lack of better term, fall off. Around that time, I did just come to understand like my favorite artist, there was a peak that he was trying to get in. It's like I look at it like this. It was a lane that he figured that he wanted to go into. Like there was a peak that he wanted to reach. And then he understood, like once he understood, like I don't gotta reach it like that. I think that's what even made the whole vibe of being a fan of Cole, just like, yeah, like that nigga can just be himself. And it made you just as a person just be like, nigga, I can be myself. You know what I'm saying? Like the nigga music I'm bumping, he's trying to do whatever the shit that he's trying to do. And me as a person is going through everyday life things without music and having to brand myself and be this type of way. I got things that I want to reach. But if that nigga can be himself at where he's at his height, it's just like, damn, nigga, you know what I'm saying? Shit, fuck it. I can be myself. So where is the parallel as far as like Kendrick? Like where does it come in to keep Kendrick? Well, we know besides the music that keeps Kendrick at the top but what drove you into the aesthetic of Kendrick Lamar and everything about him?
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy because like I came across Cole in 2010 and literally came across Kendrick in 2011. Like it's really so odd how like as I started getting into music and hip hop, them were two of the first artists that like I really got attracted to. Like, Drake was big at the time and niggas was listening to Drake. But like it was in like between 2010 and 2012 was literally when I fell in love with Cole, Kendrick, and Crit. Like over them 2 years, like covering them. And as y'all will see later, like y'all will see clearly why they were my three favorite artists. But that's a tease. We'll get to that. But anyway, but no, like that's it. Like I just grew to love those artists. And so with Kendrick, it was like Kendrick was relatable in such a different way from Cole. Like Cole I felt like Cole was telling my story. With Kendrick, I felt like Kendrick experienced I felt like I could relate to Kendrick's experience in terms of if you listen to his music, especially early on, he's always talked about that battle of wanting to get out of his situation, but feeling horrible about leaving the people in his situation. And this idea of having to be this relatively social person and, things like that, but not being necessarily a huge social person at heart. So like, I'm a social person at heart, but I also have moments where I'm very antisocial. I'm very to myself. Like I'm very.
I think I'm the opposite. Like I'm
When
literally.
that nigga said antisocial extrovert, I said shit. That's it. That's what I am. That's me.
That ambivert nigga, like, cause that's truly me. Like I know a lot of people I'm close to and associated with, as you build your bonds with them, yeah, you speak. But relatively, like I think that's what kind of drew me into the whole scope of Kendrick. Like nigga, from my own personal family and the life that they live in, shit like that, and just wanting to be that. Like you can be that light for them and in the darkness that surround them and shit like that. Wow, knowing that you got to come out of this shell and be this social person, but at heart, like, nigga, I'm an antisocial person at heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like my alone time and all that shit like that. So for me, and just to hear the shit that he was talking about, rapping about, how it was so vivid, just from the following of the mixtape Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? And as you get more acclimated, as I got more acclimated with his music, going back to before like Section 80 and the Kendrick Lamar EP, and you know what I'm saying, like shit like that, it was like, bro, like you have been growing your style and everything about you, the brand of Kendrick Lamar, for so many different years. It's like, bro, like you really studied what you're the best at. And not to say Cole hasn't studied and shit like that, but it's like, I feel like the way Kendrick went about it, he came into the game with an unapologetic demeanor. He didn't come into the game with I'm trying to get a nod from this person. It's like, nigga, this is my story. Like this is what it is.
Yeah, Kendrick came to destroy niggas. Like if you watch early interviews, like I remember I sent you the clip, we was watching the interviews of the freshman classes, and like you said, his demeanor, even like his whole approach.
I don't care about that shit, nigga. You want to be the best, you know?
And the thing was, Kendrick knew, and I think there's not a lot of artists that know. Like they say they know, and they say they wish and they hope. There was never a moment where I felt like Kendrick didn't know that he was going to be where he's at.
Yeah.
Like I never got that vibe from him, from interviews, from his music, from none of that. And so from that point, like for a long time, I would hear Kendrick, I would hear Cole, and I would be like, Cole, like, why you can't just be unapologetic and just like know you that nigga? Like, why you can't have the approach that Kendrick has? Like, Kendrick don't care. Like, you still care. You're still trying to appease.
Anyone even what was so crazy about Cole is like how he came into the game. The style that he came into was unapologetic but hungry. It was a different. It was like, yeah, I know I'm that nigga, the nigga soon to be, but then it's like as soon as he got into the game, the hype, like, nigga, I'm signing to hold. Like I gotta live up to this hype. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That pressure wasn't like Kendrick ain't had that pressure.
Yeah, he didn't have that pressure because Kendrick wasn't signed, to a big artist like that. And also when you think of how much Cole looked up to Jay, I think that's something to note as well, because now you signed to literally your idol. So now it's an added pressure for sure. And I think that is something that's different in Kendrick's career, where Kendrick didn't necessarily have the pressure of needing to like try to prove that he to anybody like right above him, like, because Top is of course not an artist, so Top may push you in a sense of being the best artist you can be, but he's not somebody you need to please in the sense of, oh, you as an artist I looked up to, and I don't want to let you down from an artist standpoint. Cole had to deal with.
And also outside of that, I feel like Cole, as far as the aesthetic of like Jay-Z is this big name and this big brand and shit like that, it was also the fact like, all right, I got my idol is Hov, you know what I'm saying, as well as niggas is passing me this nod that I got comparisons to another nigga I looked up to, as in Nas and shit like that. Like the only pressures that Kendrick really faced was to outbeat himself. You know what I'm saying?
Why? I don't want to make it seem like Kendrick didn't have pressure because you got to think Kendrick to be from Compton, to be from that area, like you got to think of still L.A. in that scene,
Yeah.
like Game, like a nigga like Game to Kendrick is major because Kendrick literally saw this nigga get out of Compton. You think of a nigga like think of a nigga like Snoop, even you think of a nigga like Dre, like these are like of course they never met, but like niggas like Pac, like that whole scene of West Coast. Kendrick still wanted that respect. It may not have been the same pressure.
And I want to retract my statements a little bit as far as like saying that, but I'm saying in the sense of like when he got the nod that nigga's that nigga, you know what I'm saying? The light and the mantle that he had to hold was like outside of like, yeah, motherfuckers trying to beef him up with Drake, but it was like really like at that time, and I think still like Kendrick was just Kendrick Lamar is just different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just something because of to production, like how detailed he is about whatever he puts out. It's not like the nigga's not just throwing out anything. You know what I'm saying? And I think for me, that's what kind of drew me in into like fucking with Kendrick, because it's just like my nigga, like, yeah, he did that. Like anything that he solely attached himself to as far as a single that he's dropped is not like it has substance to it, bro. Like it really has substance to it. And it's just like, it ain't like, nigga, here, you want new music? Fuck it, I'ma just give y'all this. It's like, nah, like, you want music? Well, sit your ass down, listen to this shit, and you gonna leave something with it. And that is dope. Cole has hit that stride to where it's going back to that, and like I love it. I don't know, honestly, bro. I think my mind would fucking explode just seeing like them drop in the same year. You know what I'm saying? Because of where they
always they always drop within a year of each other, usually, but never in the exact same calendar year. Like Cole dropped December 14, Kendrick dropped, what was that, March of 15. And oh no, they did technically drop the same year. It would have been 16. Because Kendrick dropped Untitled Unmastered and Cole technically, but Untitled Unmastered wasn't no full-length album. And then from there, of course, it's 17 and 18 and so on and so forth. But I think two interesting things for me as I've, been fans of them for the last decade. I think the stride in the run that Cole had from like into 17, like the fall of 17 through basically last summer, like ending with Revenge of the Dreamers, like that kind of year and a half-ish span, I think is what, I know for me, I would have loved to see like 3 years prior. Because Kendrick had basically kind of had a run like that before, like it was kind of like he had the run led into Good Kid, Mad City. He kind of had it after the fact, and then that's when he kind of took his it was more like the 2014 era where he kind of took his not break, but he started kind of getting into that mode of
took his foot off the gas. Like like
before he got to Pimp a Butterfly, to Pimp a Butterfly. But yeah, so that's the one thing, and then two, I think you see the parallels in them in that they both always have a message. And I think that a lot of people sometimes just get to a point of making music and they lose that message. But something they've always had from the beginning of their careers is they've always had the same message, or always at the core, at least. Of course, as they've gotten, richer or gotten older, family, shit like that, there's things that their subject matter evolves. But at the core, it's about, look, I'm taking care of my family, I'm taking care of my people, I'm taking care of black men, and I'm a challenge black men, and I'm a challenge in rap, like as an art form, I'm gonna challenge you to be the best you can be. And if that means we got to beef, but nigga, bring your bars, because they both kind of from that era, and they're like, you think Kendrick's influences are your Pacs, your Games, your Snoops, like that era, and that coast. I mean, and even Biggie too, to an extent, I'm sure. But then you look at Cole, of course, you got a nigga like Pac too, but more importantly, Nas, Jay, Biggie to a huge degree as well. Like the era that birthed them and built them they're the same people carrying that era. And I can't say the same, like even for some of the other bigger artists. Like I don't like Drake as much as he is in a lot of ways similar to Wayne, even when you look at relevancy and how he, is staying consistent. The same kind of the message, the grit, the fire. I don't always get that from Drake, and that's not a knock, him as an artist at all. But when it comes to my preference and what I'm seeing, I just see more of that era and that culture from that 90s and on both coasts, in those two. And I think that, outside of course, the differences in them musically, I think that's where their careers parallel. And of course, you've seen Kendrick have more commercial success, but I think it would be, naive to just assume that, Cole in his own right hasn't had, his, clearly, fair share amount of commercial success, and that he's not. I think it will be hard, if you were going off of success, to maybe put them in the same tier, like if you're going off of success alone. But as far as message, as far as what they bring, as far as what they mean in hip hop, I definitely think they're in the same tier. And I think that's the main parallel, at least, for me, in terms of their careers.
I guess, what do you think is the best all right, so what is your favorite Kendrick album and what is your favorite Cole album? I already know your favorite Cole album, but you could go ahead and tell the people. You can let the people know.
Cool. Okay, so my favorite Kendrick album is, honestly, my favorite one is probably Section 80. Mainly because his best is Damn, and that's because to me, Damn is the culmination of everything leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite is Section 80 because, like, when I heard Section 80, I'm like, it's very reminiscent of a Section 80 kind of tells the same tale as a 2014 does. Even as a Friday Night Lights does, like it's a story in its own way. But where he was, the hunger there, like even the subject matter at that time was kind of just different to me. I wasn't hearing people in rap talk about things like that at the time. That wasn't, and it wasn't mainstream. And granted, he didn't become mainstream till Good Kid, but and I love Good Kid. You know what I'm saying? But now my favorite probably is Section 80. Like Section 80 is something I'll still go back and run all the way through.
Section 80
yeah, my favorite Cole. My favorite Cole album for sure is definitely 2014. Friday Night Lights is an extremely close second. I remember when 2014 dropped, and I really couldn't decide between 2014 and Friday Night Lights, but it's 2014 just because I feel like when you talk about storytelling and you talk about a thematic album and you talk about really having this theme tell a story all the way through 13 tracks, I've never seen anything really put together like that before, to be completely honest. So, and that's not even from a bias, like just in general, I haven't seen an album put together that well and tell a story that precise. I mean, For Your Eyes did that, but in essence, 2014 will be my favorite. What's your favorite from both of them?
Favorite, okay, so I would say my go-to favorite would be for Cole would be 2014 Forest Hill Drive, but a second favorite, which is crazy, and this album really fucking grew on me. Like the typical answer would be Friday Night Lights or one of the
KOD.
KOD subject matter and what it did for me at that time of my life. I think it's like when he dropped 2014 Forest Hill Drive, it was like, damn, where I was at in my life. It was like every time he dropped, it drops at a pivotal moment where I feel like where I'm at young adulthood. So when 2014 Forest Hill dropped, it was like, damn, nigga, he's speaking on adolescence. I'm this adolescence. And then he came like years later coming with KOD and like touching on different topics, like his personal things that he was seeing in his life, personal things with his wife, and opening up about shit like that outside of, I would say For Your Eyes Only is his deepest, but my two favorites from Cole is definitely 2014 Forest Hill Drives, and as well as KOD will have to follow up. Like KOD has crept up recently where I'm at. I don't want to say where I'm at right now in my life, but recently KOD has crept up there like, nigga, this was great content. Kendrick, because I just sat, bro. I was at the park like a week ago, and I sat and vibed the whole damn over, even the collectors. I
Yeah.
don't know, man. Damn. I think Damn has to be a personal favorite. Like I know To Pimp a Butterfly was like fucking out of this world. Good Kid, Mad City, it was so vivid and shit like that. But I don't know, like Damn was just so well put together, so well crafted. Shit that he was talking about and stuff like that. But if I had to choose a second after Damn, it would definitely be To Pimp a Butterfly.
For sure. I think the thing is, like, when you talk about the Pimp Butterfly and when you talk about Damn, when you look at Kendrick, like, I will always argue Kendrick has one of the toughest discographies to beat, in my personal opinion. Like, there's not a miss in his discography at all. Like, it nowhere close to a miss. Like, and that's not even biased. That's just, I don't know who's listening to those albums and saying it's a miss in general. Like, I don't see that. Like, all of them have aged relatively well. And when you think of albums like The Pimp Butterfly and Damn, it's like they're both such pieces of art in their own way. Like, the beauty of Damn in that, again, it tells a story, and then on top of that, like, it almost tells a completely different story if you listen to it a completely different way. It's just, nobody's done that ever. And it won a Pulitzer. That's all I gotta say when niggas talk shit about Damn. Won a Pulitzer, bro. I don't want to hear
That's what one of my line brothers say. He'd be like, nigga, he won a fucking Pulitzer. I'll be like, all right, nigga.
Pulitzer. He won the P Award, bro. Whatever. Look, man, he won that shit as a rap artist, not rap.
That's some different shit.
But yeah, man. So we talk about them two as artists. As we close out part 3 of this the season finale, man. When you look at these artists and when you look at these labels, the preference thing is kind of like that gets sticky, but more so, just what do you think both these labels need to continue to do or do more of going forward to keep their prominence? I know we talked about the fact that Dreamville has done a great job of marketing and really pushing their artists and creating a brand for their artists, but I also think you have to attribute that more to Cole being that type of person, being that type of creative mind. I would make the argument that of course Top and Top Dog is creative in their own right, but I just don't think that's their style. You know what I'm saying? To be, and not saying that we're looking for them to do what Dreamville is doing, but I just don't think it's their style to really market in that fashion. I think Top really, I think Top really looks at his roster and says, I know all these niggas dope and they're gonna prove they dope every time they drop a tape. So I don't think he just puts a lot of weight into it.
I feel like that's exactly what you said. That's the aesthetic and that's the brand of TDE. As far as Dreamville, as in recently, I believe Dreamville is going to take that leap to become the #1 label in hip hop, and it starts from the top. And the fact that the head honcho has, like, I wouldn't even want to say blood in his eyes, but he has a different hunger for somebody that has reached success.
Yeah,
that's a scary sight to see, bro. Like, he's damn near accomplished everything. Like, he went on a tear with features. You know what I'm saying? He has a signature shoe. You know what I'm saying? His label has been built up. He's won a Grammy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's married, has 2 kids. He's touched on various different topics. He put hella niggas on with the Revenge of the Dreamers 3 tape. You know what I'm saying? Like, got hella niggas nominated for a Grammy. Like, it starts with the head honcho and the fact that I personally feel like Dreamville is in a different space. And I know TDE is about in a different space as well. But I believe Dreamville is in a space where every nigga on that roster every man and woman that is a part of that roster is very hungry. And we can't see it because everything is be speculation, but even from the brand, if you follow Dreamville on social media, like on IG, what they've been doing, like as far as gear, as far as mental health things that they've been doing, letting different acts a part of Dreamville do personal things, a part of the label and shit like that. That's something that TDE has done, but it, like, Dreamville is doing it at a very different rate of how they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Johnny Venus getting on Dreamville Live and doing fucking yoga with somebody else, or you got Luke that's getting on live and 4 people that was in quarantine and like your mental is down, displaying his art and shit like that. And just Just even Ari, like as much as motherfuckers want to say Ari's crazy for doing her rants and stuff like that, she brings a different vibe to Dreamville with her just being her being the one that's like always speaking her mind and shit like that. And then JID just creeping up on motherfuckers with these different features and just turning off the rip and shit like that. Boz coming through with all his different features. I feel like, man, I believe Dreamville is getting ready to take their entire label to the next step to say that at one point in time, Dreamville was the #1 label in hip hop. Like TDE had their reign, but I believe it's time for Dreamville. I want to believe that, and I hope that what I believe comes to fruition and shit like that, just to see how hungry they are right now. But yeah, man, I believe that they're gonna take that top spot. So
Yeah, no, that's real, and I honestly have nothing else to add. Honestly, man, you said it perfectly. I think they're priming themselves for a run at the top, and I mean, because I think Cole, in a way, is kind of priming himself for that as well. I know a lot of people won't see it that way, and a lot of people won't even really, see him, challenging Drake. And I'm not looking at it from a standpoint of him challenging in this regard because I know how a lot of people feel about Drake, and I respect Drake as an artist most definitely. But I mean, when you talk about what Cole has done for himself on top of what he's been able to do consciously for his label and his artist, I genuinely think is unmatched. I think the closest person to doing that is somebody like Thug, to be honest, that's been able to do both. So I think that's like I said, I really don't have too much to add, man. And I mean, honestly, there's no more to say. That's a great way to kind of end this season, brother. I mean, it's wild. The parallel Dreamville is parallel to us because I feel like as we done went through this season, as we done been figuring things out, been planning, trying to get everything ready for the people. I feel like our time coming soon. Like little do people know, like we just got everything in the bag, all up the sleeve. You know what I'm saying? So again, as a season finale, this is part 3 of our final episode. We wanted to dig deep for y'all to end the season. Y'all probably know by this point, but the verses, for this weekend, by the time y'all see this, that verses is gonna be crazy. We thought about it at the beginning of the summer, and we said we was gonna wait and hold it out for y'all. So we hope y'all are excited as we are. And again, my final words for the season: just thank you for tuning in, thank you for rocking with us, thank you for the support, and just stay with us. And I mean, Jesse, what's your final words for the people, man, as we end this season?
New audio files coming as always, man. Y'all know we tune in for that as well, man. Throw us some artists as well, some local artists that, if you're watching this, you might know of that's in your city that you really fuck with and shit like that. And me and Steve would definitely check them out and, try to work some type of way to, sit down and have an interview with them in the next season. But we really coming with it with season 3. And we hope that y'all have been satisfied with the content that we gave y'all for season 2. And we just going to continue to turn up, man. And thank you for rocking with us from year 1 to this year and just watching the growth of the interlude, man. It ain't been nothing but love. So we appreciate that for sure.
At all. Most definitely, man. And until season 3.
Yes, sir.
Peace.